Three Keller Williams from three very different markets asking three great questions to one rock star agent about how they study the millionaire real estate agent and how they use the lessons learned from this book,
aka the Red Book,
to do the one thing that guarantees them a life by design and not just by default.
These are the RedTalks with Aaron
and Luke
and Patrice.
So, hi guys. So our guest this week is Mr. Michael Putnam, Director of Sales and Expansion for the United Home Group, a different kind of real estate team that was established in Portland, Oregon in 2011 and is now one of the largest teams of agents in the US, helping thousands of buyers and sellers every single year. And after launching his team under the United Home Group's banner around 2013, he rose to become the regional director for the whole of Northern California and Hawaii. Nice. And then now in 2016, he became the Director of Sales and Expansion, and he is committed to leading United Home Group into the next phase of their growth and their future. So Michael, it's super lovely to have you join us today. Thank you so much. Really thank you for taking the time, the valuable time out of your day to hang out with us. And we want to just ask you three very simple questions around three key things: mindset, application, and giving back.
Sure.
So as you know, we want to keep this short and sweet, and we want to make sure that this is kind of as compelling and interesting, fun and engaging as possible for our audience. So we'll spend just a few minutes on each of those short three questions. Is that okay?
That sounds great. And first of all, just want to thank you, all three of you, for having me on this, because what you're doing is amazing. Being able to take people that have applied these practices, applied these principles, and giving it out to the world, that's such a big thing. And I don't know if you realize that. Just the four of us are on camera right now, and yet you get to then go disseminate this. And I'm not saying my words are going to be gold or anything like that, and yet you're going to trigger some thoughts in people that weren't having them before. So I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of that.
Well, thank you very much. And so, in the spirit of it, ladies first, Aaron, why don't you go ahead?
Yes. Well, first of all, thank you for that, Michael. That's so sweet. Okay, my question for you is this. Given the role that you have in coaching, mentoring, and of course, helping people build their careers worth having and businesses worth owning, how do you keep in a good mindset?
Well, frankly, Aaron, you don't always. And I don't mean to be a downer right in the very first part of the first question. At the same time, I've struggled with like anybody and everybody else. I mean, is there anybody on this call that has ever just had a moment or a day or a week where you just weren't quite right in the head? I know I have it. I have it daily, right? Yeah, daily at some point. And I struggled with it a lot. Maybe 7 or so years ago, there was a time period in my life where I just wasn't quite thinking correctly. I wasn't priming myself. And I was susceptible to the negative influences of others or just of the general atmosphere I was in. And I think if we look at where we are right now, it's even easier to go into that mind space than it ever has been before. The access to information, the amount of people that want something from you or want to put something on top of you, it's extremely easy to fall victim to that if you let it. And that's my point. It's always a choice. So I've worked on a muscle. I went to Bold, gosh, this was 2012. And one of the greatest things I heard in that Bold session was, you cannot control your first thought. You can control your second. And so I've worked on this for years and years, and I'll tell you kind of a weird, funny story, although I've worked on it for years to make sure that how fast, when a negative thought pops into this brain of mine, how quickly can I get it out and replace it with something that's actually uplifting or something that's inspiring or something that makes sense. Because frankly, what we tell ourselves in our head, we start to believe over time. If we tell ourselves the same thing over and over again, we're going to believe it. So I cannot afford to let those things in, or at the very least, let them stay. And so I'm a very visual person. And for a long time, what I would do is in the old Bold, there was a thing called the monkey, the drunk monkey. And I literally visualized that monkey sitting on my shoulder every time I had a negative thought. And I would just flick it away every time I had that negative thought. And as soon as that thought was gone, what's something I can think right now that helps me think bigger, helps me think better, helps me move forward, and then take action on it. So number one, Aaron, it's all about how quickly can I get that thought out of my head.
Can I just ask something, Michael, real quick,
please.
just to make sure that for those folk out there that don't know about the Keller Williams model and don't know what Bold is, quickly, what is Bold?
So BOLD stands for Business Objective Life by Design. I've taken it 13 times. It's actually where I met my mentor, coach, and business partner, Cody Gibson. And there's a saying in it
13
that
times?
13 times.
That's
Yeah.
hardcore.
I think once you really start to believe and buy the fact that, and buy meaning it's a value, buy the fact that your mindset is so critical. It's 90% of your success, in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinions. When you really buy into that fact, in my opinion, I think you start looking for more things. You start looking for more ways to really go and hone a strong mindset. BOLD was that for me. And there's a saying in there that says, no person ever stands in the same river twice because the person and the river has changed.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the first time I went to it, I was actually kind of forced to go to it by a team lead. And I was like, all right, I'm here to learn how to sell houses. And I did. I learned how to sell houses better. What I really did was learn how to think differently. And the second time, it was more about mindset. The third time, the fourth time. By the time I took it my 12th and 13th time, I wasn't there to learn how to sell houses better. I know how to sell houses pretty well. What I was there was I was at a different place in my evolution for my leadership and my growth. And I wanted to know, how do I advance that further? Because the further and faster I advance that, the more I can help other people, the more my life will change as well. So that's what BOLD is for me.
Does that BOLD thing then influence pretty much your mindset skills that you pass on to your people every day?
Absolutely. In fact, if you're on our team and you have direct contact with me at any level, you'll likely hear me throwing boldisms out there. And if you use the B word, which is the BU, I won't even say the last letter. I don't use that word in my vocabulary because after that word is almost always something negative. So I've removed it from my vocabulary completely. So if you're on my team and you say that word, at least I and probably 5 other people that I've been working with for a long time will correct you and say, and. It's a very big part of our culture. And with Cody being one of the original BOLD coaches, it's part of who we are, because it's all about up here. You've got to get right up here. Like it says in MREA and every other book Gary's written, you got to get right up here before you can be right out there. So you got to work on the mindset. And that actually goes to the question again, is my second thing is you got to schedule time for it. You know, if you look at your calendars, most people don't have a really great calendar. It's very blank. It's very just blah. And if they do have things on their calendar, they're usually obligations. They're things they have to do that day just to get the day done and make sure that they didn't leave their kids at school, or they didn't forget to do something they needed to do for the family or for the business that really didn't move them forward. It just kept them where they are.
So
the bare minimum.
Having a calendar holds you accountable, but also you get to defend it. You get to defend your calendar.
Oh, Luke, I love that because I use my calendar as a scapegoat constantly. Oh, sure, I would love to be able to help you, and I need to consult the calendar. And then I have a moment to think and say, does this really help people? Does this really push us forward? If not, I don't think it needs to be on the calendar. And John Maxwell, who I'm a coach with, I've received a coaching certification through John Maxwell too. What I love about him is that every day, every week, every month, every year, he sits down, looks at his calendar, and reviews what did he do well, what did he not do well, what should he take off his calendar, and what should he add more onto his calendar. And that gives him a purpose of making the best and strongest calendar. And so for me, it's the calendar portion is so important. You've got to have time for your mindset on there. If you look at mine, it has on there me time, connected time. That's me connecting with the universe and the God of your understanding, whatever that is for you. It's also, there's gratitude time on there. At 7:45 in the morning, it's gratitude with my family every single day. Beginning and end of the day, it's to look at what did I do well, what can I learn from the day, and how do I do better moving forward? Because if you don't do that, you're just going through the motions. And I don't know of anybody that really wants to live a life of just going through the motions.
I love that. We're really working on time blocking on our team. And it is so funny because we don't put the time to actually go through that. It kind of seems like, oh, it should just be natural. And it truly is something that takes practice, right?
It really does.
A muscle that you have to work.
Yeah, and I actually wrote that down earlier this morning when I was thinking about this conversation. It's an absolute muscle, and the more you work it, the stronger it gets, the more reflexive it gets to combating the negative, allowing the positive, and then harboring the positive to make just better decisions and better thinking practices.
So you've got to make sure that your mindset is taken care of, but also it sounds like you've got to make sure that you've got to put that mindset piece into your system, your organizational process of every single day. You got to ring fence a piece for mindset. But actually, it's a good segue on to the next question, right? 3 questions. I want to ask this question of you, if you don't mind. So with things evolving all the time in our business and technology changing every day to meet the needs of our agents and our customers. Love the cat, by the way. So
that's amazing.
It's a new cat, right?
It's the mascot.
Yeah, it's a kitten, so he doesn't have any personal boundaries. I need to do some time blocking.
My
here.
kids are going to bust in here any second now. So
Mine
we're
too.
all dealing with this, right? This is the new normal.
This is real life, people.
Okay, so with technology and things changing and evolving all the time, what do you do every day that ensures that your systems and processes that you have are like super robust and super kind of up to date, so that then you can continue to execute a level 10 in your business every day?
So I want to address that last part first. I don't know if you're ever executing at a level 10, because if you are at a level 10, that means there's no room for improvement. And I just refuse to believe that that's even possible. And so that's one thing. The second thing, though, is we're constantly breaking things. You know, how we ensure that we're at least moving towards the best possible potential for the systems and for the people is that you're constantly being open-minded to the fact that you don't know everything. It's okay for us to take our egos out of our business and say, I'm not the best at anything in my business. I might be really, really good at a few things. I might be really bad at a couple other things. And that's okay, because I've got my strengths. Other people have their strengths. And so that goes in the second part of the answer, is you've got to find the people that are really passionate, first of all, and really solid at the things that you're not. Like if you try to put me in charge of actually building a system for operations for a team our size or any size, it'd be the worst operations department in the world. Now, I can give some perspective. Our director of operations is great, and I can give some perspective looking at it from a salesperson's mentality and from a person that's been in business for a while. I can do that. And yet, if you left me in charge of actually executing on that and building out an operations plan, you wouldn't want to be in business with me, I guarantee, because I would break everything and it would be terrible for you. So with that said, I think it's the open-mindedness to the understanding that you aren't the end-all, be-all, know-all for all things in your systems. And if you're willing to be open to other people saying, hey, I see this happening, and I think it could be a little better. May I show you a way that we've done it or that I've seen elsewhere be done and help you with this? And if you're willing to say, okay, ego, go away. Yes, I'm willing to have that input, then you can grow so much faster. There's a lot of companies, a lot of books out there around silos. And it's something that we're talking about in our company right now, that if you silo your business, meaning I'm in charge of this, you're in charge of that, you're in charge of that, we don't cross boundaries, you're never going to expand or grow the way you want to grow. Because you're going to only know what you know in this area, they're going to know what they know in this area, and you're not going to have the synergy of helping each other with different perspectives or looking outside of your company. I like that we're in a bubble. When it comes to all the stuff going on in the world, I like, or especially US right now, I like the fact that I'm in like a little bit of a bubble. And I tune out a lot of stuff. And I know, though, by doing that, there's a sacrifice on the other side. I'm ignorant to some things that are happening out there. I should know some of the things that are happening out there. Same principle in business.
Well, I know that you ladies, right, are saying that you kind of do a news media blank out, like you don't listen to it because it's
Oh yeah.
And that's part of your mindset, right? It's how you don't want to have that negative stuff flowing in, because the headlines are there to terrify us, right? But we're there to help clarify. So we don't want to be like bombarded with terrible news.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Erin and I are actually peak performance partners. And so we really do a great job of making sure that the other one, with all that's going on and all of the growth, so we really bounce off of each other a lot. It really makes a difference having that someone that'll keep you positive and to make sure that you stay in your lane. Like, what should I be focusing on today? What can I actually control, right? Are you making a difference, or are you just complaining?
Yeah, that right there, what Patrice said about so what you can control. It's something I've spoken on many, many, many times, is when there's all this unknown and all this overwhelm, all you can really do in that moment is do the next best possible thing for you and the people around you. You do that, then you do the next, then you do the next. You might not even need to look up at times. And I think in our personal lives, the mindset being so important, we have to be very cognizant of what we're letting in. And if we're going to let it in, we have to make sure it comes through the right prism, comes through the right filters, and then we do our due diligence to make sure we are framing that information properly. And I like to tune a lot of it out because I don't think it serves me. In business, it's a little different, though. I don't need to know what every competitor is doing, because frankly, we're different. We all have different opportunities. What I do need to know, though, is there a better way to do this? Can we take a piece of that to make this better?
And if I heard you right, it sounds like with all the systems and the tools and the kind of like the operational stuff out there, it's more about the people that help you do that rather than the systems themselves. Is that true?
Yeah, and I think at the core of it, Luke, is the fact that if you're building something, whether it's 2 people or thousands of people, you're building something and you truly have their best interests at heart, then you're going to constantly be looking for ways to make it better because you want to bring more value. That's the number one reason. This should be the number one reason at the core. The second reason is because if you're not doing that, you're going to get passed by everybody else anyways. And then you're not going to be able to effectively make change or help someone build a business or a life because you're not keeping up with what needs to happen with today's world and how it changes so fast. As you said, things are changing so quickly. We have to be on the forefront, or at least be taking bits and pieces from that to make it better for the people involved.
It also seems like from what you said, I'll take it back to one of the first things that you said in this question is that, you make breaking something a positive, which I think just sets yourself up for success and growth from the beginning. If breaking a system and finding a hole or something is actually a great thing to find. So I think you're just setting your whole system up for success when making it better is such a positive.
It's an important mindset piece to have. And in reality, though, it's terrible in the moment in the actual application. Because you break a system, someone was relying on that. Maybe dozens of people relying on that. Now you've got problems with that. And so it really hurts in the moment. And yet that pain allows you to cause or create better growth. And that's what, I've got it written down right here. Growth equals challenges. It always will. Although challenges then equal the opportunity to grow even faster and stronger. It's like scar tissue. It's like, it gets stronger, it heals itself, and it allows you to keep moving forward.
What was that, Erin? You were just showing something?
Oh, uncomfortable equals growth. I have it taped to my computer.
I love it.
That's awesome. I
love the fail forwards thing. Just always feel like, and I say this to my son, right? Who's kind of like anxious about the fact that he can't do something. I'm like, dude, embrace it. Love the fact that you made a mistake. Make more of them, because the more you make, the more you learn, right?
I have a saying in my house that gets me in trouble a lot with my wife. Twin boys that are 6 years old, and anytime anybody tells them to be careful or go slower, I just instantly, it's a reflex now, go faster, lead with your face. Not the smartest thing in the world. We've been in the ER a few times, so it's probably not working as well as I think it should. At the same time, it goes right to the heart of that. Just keep moving forward. Look, I love the saying that is, if you fall, at least you fall on your face when you're moving forward. I like that because you can always get back up and keep going.
I did that recently, so from personal experience, I can say that's exactly what you do. Sorry.
On the streets of
That's
New
an
York.
inside joke,
into the new year.
everyone.
One more piece on just that real quick, because we talk about kids and leading with your face and all that and falling down. Just this last night, actually, my family and I made a piñata, and my kids really like Unikitty. It's this weird cartoon kitty thingy. We made a piñata because just a few months back, my son was swinging at a piñata at a birthday party and he missed, and it came back and hit him in the face. And since then, he's been unwilling to swing at a piñata at a birthday party, which means he's missing out on a lot of fun and a lot of activity because he's embarrassed. So we made one last night. We're going to go out into the woods tonight on our date night, and we're going to beat it up. We're going to laugh about it. We're going to have a good time because that little tiny block, that one little instance that hit him in the face has stopped his entire life around piñatas and birthday parties. And I'm unwilling to let that be the case for him. Just like if you take that example, then you apply it to our lives and business, that one person that said no to me, who cares? There's thousands of other people I can help. I'm not going to stop my life or stop the ability to help others simply because I had one bad experience in something. It's a lesson I'm proud that I get to teach him at such an early age, because I don't think most of us were really taught that kind of perseverance at that kind of age. And I'm not saying I'm amazing, look at me for doing this. I think it's important, though, that we remember the things that we try to teach kids. We're constantly giving advice to kids, and yet we're not always taking it ourselves. I think it's important to take a step back and say, maybe I should take a bit of my own advice there too.
I love that, Michael. That makes me think of bold, because it's kind of one of those things. Bold makes you do such intense numbers, and doing those bold 100s and hearing no. When you hear no 100 times in a day, it makes it a lot easier to only have to hear it 20 times the next day, right? When you're going through, it's about changing those numbers. So I love that perspective. So Michael, while we're talking about kind of mindset, that giving back, talking about your team, one last question. So with United Home Group and all of your amazing agents performing at such high levels, what's the one thing that you currently do or plan to do to keep giving back to the communities that serve you and your agents? So what should we hear about?
Yeah, and I was thinking about that question a lot, and I think the answer is partially in the question. The community I serve right now is our agents. And yes, I live in a community, and yes, it's part of a larger community, and so I want to serve them too, and we do that. And what I was thinking, though, was I think about it this way: with a team the size of ours, or any team size really, if we can truly help the person, the agent that's on our team, if we can help them achieve the goals they want, to have the success that they desire, And by the way, that a lot of that comes through the mindset that we teach and train on, then they can make a bigger impact. And my belief around this has always been, if I really want to go big on impact, I got to go small first. And that's me. How do I make sure that I'm showing up the proper way? In fact, I have this weird thing about my big why. My big why is very simple. It's to make my wife and sons proud of me, because there was a period of time where I don't think I was proud of myself. And I wouldn't have been proud of me if I was them. And I hate to even say it, it's just the truth. And so now I visualize anytime I show up, anytime I speak, anytime I'm interacting with somebody, if my kids and my wife are over in the corner and I didn't see them there, would they be proud of me in that moment? And that forces the introspection back to, am I doing the right things? Am I showing up as the right person? Because when I do that, I can have a better impact on them. If I do that and they do that, then they can have a bigger impact on those around them. So back to your question, Patrice, I think for me, I've focused small again, looking at the agents on our team. Okay, what is it that they're truly passionate about? Because if I can have 150 or 200 or 400 people out there making an impact in their communities, it's a lot more than I can just do if we do one team event. Now, don't get me wrong, team events are amazing, and I want to do more of them. My focus has been, though, let's get them where they need to be, because when that happens, we have a little army of people out there making a difference for others. And that's how I think how you affect massive change on a massive scale, is getting a lot of people involved in a movement. And we don't have that yet. We're working on it. Although that's my initial answer to that question. Me personally, I have a passion for seeing kids learn how to actually build something for themselves and not be beholden to others if they don't want to be. You know, I was raised, and no fault of my parents, this is the way everybody was raised back then. I was raised to go to school, get a job. Once you get the job, you then stay there for 30 or 40 years and you have a retirement plan. And it just never sat well with me. I was the black sheep of the family a little bit, and I wanted to break out. I wanted to do something crazy. And I've made money, I've lost money, I've had some challenges personally. And I think part of that is from the mindset piece of, hey, this is what I make it. If I go out there and make this my own, it's all on me, whether it fails or succeeds. And I like both of those things. I like the fact that it's all on my shoulders. Amazing. With that, and with that, that's allowed me to really think about, okay, what do I want out of this life as a legacy? First of all, family. Second of all, though, if there are kids out there like me that are going down the status quo path, and that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that, that's what you want, and they want to break free from that, I want to help them. So one of the things I'm working on this year is actually getting an entrepreneurial school for kids that allows them to actually learn more about what it could be to build something for themselves. Even if they choose not to go build a business for themselves, the mindset piece around, okay, the actions I take, the thoughts I have, the things I put out into the world do make a difference for myself, those around me, and potentially a larger scale. That's my passion, and it still comes through helping others get what they want.
I think that is so cool, Michael, because those of us with entrepreneurial mindsets, we don't necessarily fit in that box. And I don't know about you guys. For me, for a long time, that I felt that I was wrong because I didn't fit in that box. And so it's just really amazing that when you become an entrepreneur, the box is all these crazy shapes, and all of your unique gifts fit so perfectly. So I think that's amazing that you're doing that. So I definitely want to be a part of that. So I'm going to expect some sort of a nod when you're ready to expand that out.
That's really, really beautiful. And one of the my takeaway from what you said back then is also about the thinking big but go small, because it feels like with so many people in your organization that you have to help such a large team, that approach feels to me like it's something that you could do very meaningfully for everybody within that organization in an impactful way, right? So you could do that small thing for that one person that would elevate their business, that would elevate their mindset. And it doesn't need to take you like a whole half hour, whole hour, and then you can't fit everybody in, and then all of a sudden you're not able to give back. If you can just tweak a little bit here and there with each and every person, then they're just going to feel so heard, and that must work for you, right?
It does. Not always, and sometimes I took a long time to come around for certain things. And so I got to give grace, meet people where they are. John Maxwell always says, if you're here in your business or your life, or your growth, and they're here, you got to come back to them. And that's fine, because they're going to pull you, they're going to push you forward too, because they're going to need certain things. And it takes time with some people, and that's okay. It takes time with all of us, just different times. And I think it's two-sided. If you truly care, and you're willing to show that, be there, be present, and help them through everything, and then also hold them and push them towards what they really want out of life, then you're helping them accelerate. all of us need that extra little nudge sometimes. We need to be supported, we need to be loved, and at the same time, we also very often need that, hey, you could go a little faster. You go a little further with this. Hey, let's change that thought process right there and let's really move this thing forward, because if you don't, it's so easy to get complacent and comfortable and just stay where you are. And nobody I know that has the entrepreneurial spirit, and really anybody that I know wants to just stay where they are. They may have been conditioned and programmed to do that, although internally, mentally, emotionally, their spirit, whatever that is, they want to move forward in some way, some shape, some form, and they need the external inputs sometimes to do that. And it's definitely the support too.
Wow.
I think sometimes, you know, this was great for me to hear today. Just having a team and whatnot. Patrice has heard this a few times. I'm really having such a mindset shift around letting go of so many clients and working through the team. And because when I work through the people, through the team, then we all succeed, right? But it's so good to hear it multiple times because I keep needing it. So that's great. And I think it's so powerful and something that we can really easily forget, especially in this career, right? Because when you start, you're a solo agent sometimes and you're like, oh, now I'm going to go build my career. I'm going to build this for myself. And then you have to hit that shift of, okay, wait, now they're more important, because if I make them more important and I make them really successful and hit all of their goals, then we will all succeed together. I think that's great.
Let me say this, because we want to make sure that this is great, you know, wonderful, short and sweet material. Our plan, as we've all discussed, which I think is going to be hugely beneficial to our audience out there, is that we're going to be following up over the intervening weeks before the next wonderful person, the next wonderful industry leader comes on our show. And we'll be able to unpack this a little bit more. And if you like, Michael, we'd love to have you back, maybe have another little session that we can get in deeper on some of this stuff. But for now, I think what you've delivered to us today is amazing. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. It would be an honor to come back. So thank you both, all three of you.
Thank you so much. Listen, everyone stay safe out there. Thanks so much for watching the Red Talks. And the Red Talks this month was with the marvelous Michael Putnam. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.